Author Ta-Nehisi Coates pushed the issue of payments to descendants of slaves into a larger national discussion with his landmark 2014 essay, The Case for Reparations. That conversation continues in institutions across the country. Georgetown students recently voted to pay money to the descendants of slaves sold by the university. And in January, 50 U.S. representatives co-sponsored a House bill to study reparations, and Democratic presidential candidates are also raising the issue. Ta-Nehisi Coates is here, only on CBS This Morning, to discuss. Hello, Ta-Nehisi.
Hi, Gayle.
Listen, I remember that masterpiece article in the Atlantic magazine. We all remember it. It was 7 pages, 16,000 words. And at the time, there were a lot of eye rolls about, like, what is he talking about? That was then, this is now. And now, 5 years later, that conversation continues. Did you think that this story would have legs, and what do you make of all the discussion?
First of all, absolutely not. I did not. I think, I did quite a few interviews around the time, and I viewed this, and to some extent still view it, as a generational struggle. When you're a writer, you are fortunate if anybody pays attention to anything you do.
Yeah.
So you have to write out of, some sort of deep-seated belief. So I'm shocked to see this continue on now. In
the beginning, even you weren't in favor of reparations because people think it means now we're supposed to pay every black person money because of what happened in slavery?
Yeah.
What does it mean exactly?
And it's possible that you should do that, but we haven't gotten clear on what exactly the process of reparations is.
That's not what you're saying, though.
Well, I mean, my basic argument in the piece that I made was that the relationship between African Americans in this country and the broader country for most of our history has been one of extraction, taking resources out of the community to profit other people. The period of enslavement, obviously, for 250 years. The period of Jim Crow, when you had basically a system of serfdom in the South, the period when black people could not vote, meaning that resources or taxes taken out of their community, they had no ability to determine what was done with that. The period of the New Deal and FHA loans, when we basically built our modern middle class that black people were actually cut out of, even as they contributed to the system. That explains to a large extent, as far as I was concerned when I wrote the article, the 20-to-1 wealth gap that divides black and white America. And so I basically became convinced that there was no other policy beyond reparations that could handle that.
And your argument is it comes right up to the front door today. This is not in the past, that this legacy is alive and part of our culture now.
Very much so. And I intentionally wrote the article the way I did because I was very aware that often what people say about reparations is, well, slavery was a long time ago, those people are dead, it's not affecting anything today. And so it's very important to me that I start with somebody who was alive and who was in the present, and part of a phenomenon that you could see throughout many of America's cities.
Let me ask you about the question, the pace of change. You said this is a generational question. So give me your sense of how fast the conversation needs to take place, because it obviously needs pushing and pressure for immediate action, but on the other hand, as you say, you can move too fast.
Yeah, as I said in the piece, and this is still where I am today, I think the proper next step is H.R. 40, which is the bill that Sheila Jackson Lee now was pushed for years by John Conyers to convene a study on exactly what happened, studying, the period of white supremacy and enslavement in this country, and, the possible means by which reparations could happen. I think that's extremely, extremely important because, A, I think we need to hear from African American communities about how they feel, any sort of reparations should be met. I think this country has not gone through a process of educating itself, on what,
really understanding the atrocities.
Yes. And I think that's a really, I think we are not talking about a bribery payment.
But because of what you're talking about, it's actually become a live wire issue on the campaign trail right now with some of the presidential candidates. But you pressed President Obama at the time on this idea, and he was very skeptical, said he didn't think it's theoretically, but not politically possible.
Yeah. And honestly, I actually was shocked he even said it was, he even gave credence to the theoretical portion of it.
But is it politically possible now? I mean, has the pace of change been actually that quick?
Who knows? I mean, who knows what's politically possible until it happened? I was one of these people who did not think a black president was politically possible. There were large swaths of Americans, who I know who didn't think Donald Trump was possible. Who knows? Who knows?
Well, at the very least, you've certainly opened up a conversation that people are really talking about and taking very seriously today. I encourage everyone to go back and read that article again. It's a very long read.
It's a long read. It's not short.
You learn a lot, but you learn a lot.
And hope for writers who toil in quiet and anonymity.
Yes, indeed.
It's very well done.
Yes, indeed.
Always good to see you, Ta-Nehisi.
Thank you, guys.